Yo, what is up everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Owen and well, today's video is going to be on this Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 5. So without further ado, let's get started. So yeah, that's right everybody, I built an Evo. And for those of you guys who don't know what Evo is, it's basically Mitsubishi's entry to like the Group A rally class. And they basically made it by taking a Lancer and heavily modifying it to be, I guess, a rally car. Now the first Evo was introduced in 1992, aka the Evo 1. And well yeah, that car was pretty much set the standard for, well, every Evo to come after that. It of course featured all-wheel drive and the ever so iconic Mitsubishi 4G63-T engine. T of course standing for turbo. Now the first ever rendition of this car had 250 horsepower, but once it got to the Evo 5 generation, it bumped all the way up to 280 horsepower. And as the name suggests, of course, every generation of Evo is basically an evolution of the one that came before it. And of course, Mitsubishi needed to do this to stay competitive in rally because, well, technology was advancing pretty much every year. And their opponents' cars were also getting better, specifically Subaru, who was their #1 competitor. What this also means though is that every generation of Evo had a pretty short production run because they're of course constantly upgrading them. So yeah, these were pretty rare. And to make matters worse, well, they never sold them in the US until they got to the Evo 8 and of course Evo 9 and Evo 10. Now, talking about the specific Lego model, well, it's got a few features such as the headlights with the orange indicators, which I just really had to include. It's also got this center grille section, which actually uses these bar clip pieces to like split where the headlights are and the center grille is, which is a pretty unique technique that I've like never used before. This whole front end is actually pretty complicated and took me a while to make. This is probably like my 11th front end iteration. And I had to do this because a lot of my older ones looked kind of like a Subaru 22B, which is actually the car that this Evo like raced against. And yeah, I definitely didn't want to make it look like its competitor. So now we'll move on to the rear where we've got these headlights. I think I recreated the shape of them quite well. They are in opaque red instead of translucent red because these red bracket pieces aren't actually available in translucent red, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think the opaque red does just fine. And then right above that, we've got this pretty simple, I guess, build-wise speaking wing, but it's also just really accurate in terms of the real-life car, in my opinion. Okay, moving on, I'll now explain a little bit about the interior of this car, which is accessed simply by removing the windshield and the roof, like all my other cars. And well, now you see the pretty, actually fancy seats that I've recreated. They basically have this like maroon and gray color scheme, also with these incorporated headrests. And like my other cars as well, we've got the like center console with the gear shifter and a pretty nice but also simple dash. And for those of you asking, this car does actually fit 2 minifigures, which is a nice addition, but unfortunately I could not add opening doors to this car, which is a bit unfortunate as my actually like old Evo MOC had this, so it's a bit of a downgrade in that aspect. Unfortunately, I had to do that to basically make the sides a bit more realistic and make the car fit minifigures. Pretty much the only opening feature of this car is the hood. It's only like 3 studs wide and it wasn't really meant to be like an opening hood. It's pretty much only on this hinge so that the middle part of the hood can like sort of slant down a little bit. Because I had a little bit of space in there, I added a little model of a 4G63 engine, which, you know, does add some nice details. And the last thing about this car that I'll talk about is actually the wheels. I used this technique to make them basically like a deeper dish kind of wheel, and basically I did that by using like a newer Speed Champions like wheel insert. So you know, the wheel insert for like the larger Speed Champions wheels that were released recently, and then I put those into like an older Speed Champions tire as it slots pretty much perfectly in. And then to attach them to the car, I just used some of these pneumatic like T-brackets for the rear. And for the front, I actually did give this car a little bit of camber by using these like bent lightsaber hilt pieces. I think that's what they are. And you also can camber the rear wheels. I just didn't do it in this car because, well, number one, I didn't have enough of these lightsaber brackets, and also it gives it a bit of a better stance, in my opinion, when like the rear is slightly higher up than the front. But that's a little bit irrelevant. Basically, that's pretty much all I had to say about this car. I really hope you guys liked it. I've got some new builds coming soon. And well, with that all said, well, let's of course move on to the build tutorial.